by the way?
I haven't looked at my Wikipedia page in a long time, so it's probably all lies.
Because looking at your own Wikipedia page is depressing.
Right.
I think.
And a sign of mental illness.
Mental illness, or like deep inadequacy. Something is wrong with you.
Wrong.
Or like insane like ego and hubris where you're like, let me inspect how I'm seen. But I feel like what's good about your Wikipedia page is there's not a lot there. It's very intriguing.
Oh.
Yeah, like there's just enough information there for me like,
now you're making me curious.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I'll tell you about it. Now, Misha Collins, welcome to my show.
Oh, thanks.
It's happening now. I'm going to put this inside your mouth.
Okay.
There we go. Okay,
Okay.
good. Yeah. We're going to start with the fact that your nails are painted.
Oh, yes, they are.
Are you playing a rock star in a...
No, I wish that there was some valid reason for my having painted nails. I just did a fan convention for Supernatural, which is the TV show.
You guys do so many fan conventions.
We do a lot of fan conventions, and that's because we're prostitutes.
Yes, Hooas. The fancy name is Hooas.
Hooas, yes. But I was up on stage, and the other actors on the show came up and gave me a manicure while I was on stage.
Because you guys have done so many conventions that you have to entertain yourselves.
We have to do something
now.
to keep ourselves busy.
Yeah.
And we did a pretty good job of no one made eye contact with one another or made any mention of it. I just continued answering questions.
Well,
from
they
the
painted
audience.
your nails.
Well, they painted my nails.
Who did it? Jared and Jensen?
No, Jared and Jensen did not do it. Osric Chow.
Yes, adorable Osric Chow.
Richard
who
Speight.
plays what's Osric's character's name? Kevin.
Kevin.
Yes. I watched the show.
You are such a nerd.
It shouldn't have taken me as long to answer the question, but I almost couldn't remember your character's name for a minute. I am having early onset dementia. I've decided I can't remember anything.
I'm suffering from the same thing.
Thank God that it's not just me. So Osric Chow, and who else?
Richard Speight,
who
he
plays
played the trickster.
The trickster. Early, like
expired.
season 3 to 5, a little
yes,
bit.
that's really.
I
nerdy.
totally
Really
watched
nerdy.
the show. I'm sorry if you feel creeped out now.
and Matt Cohen. Those are my.
Oh,
my
fun! I
manicures.
like that.
Yeah.
I would love to be so bored with conventions that was what I did.
So
on
they kind of
stage.
fucked it up, though. They
there's men doing it. They
didn't
don't
put
know.
the bottom
The
base
coat. They didn't put the base coat on.
So it's chipping badly, and my wife thinks I look bad.
Your wife is like, I don't mind that your nails are painted. I just wish they looked better.
Yeah,
They
she
picked,
has higher standards.
in my
than this.
opinion, a very like Ziggy Stardust. It's black with glitter. It's very rocky.
It looked like it had prospects. But
In fact, tell your wife, I actually think this is better because this is like, I painted my nails, but I'm too cool to maintain my manicure. I'm
right.
busy being a man.
I paint my nails, but I'm a pig.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
yeah.
I'm too busy being interesting. Where was this convention?
This was in a really exciting place, Burbank, California.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's remote, rustic,
Donkey ride, just kind of bucolic.
Yeah, I think you'd like it. It's a nice
No
place
cell
to get
service.
away. No cell.
We could literally see it out of the window of my
it
office.
from here, yeah.
How many conventions do you guys do a year?
In the dozen range.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah. Do you? Because I'm still new to this. I've done like my 4th or 5th Comic-Con, and I still love them. Although they have just started to be a little burdensome in the sense that I'm excited for it, and at the end I want to burst into tears. Like it's always a little bit more than anybody can manage. We're getting up at 5 and going to bed at midnight, like 4 days in a row. Then at the end you're like, why did I agree to this? Has it lost? I mean, do you still enjoy it?
I do enjoy it, but what you're talking about resonates with me because at the end of a second or third day of doing this, I'm just so wiped. And it makes me think about politicians on the campaign trail. I don't know how they go day after day after day and don't just
That's what the whores and the cocaine are. That's why cocaine.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. That's why all
taking pictures of your penis. That's how they recharge.
Exactly.
Sending somebody a picture.
And
of
I'm trying all of those things.
Just see what works for you.
And I think it's some sort of cocktail.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you'll find the combination. Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking of like a medication cocktail. Yeah, like the AIDS cocktail. Why would I go there? But I did. It's too late to come back. I can't. I'm sorry. Now you understand how this conversation is going to go. And it's interesting because when you go to a convention, it's a supernatural convention. I mean, you guys, I know, like I've seen Jared at Comic-Con before, but you guys go to things that are just about supernatural.
Yeah.
So you have even more of a burden to like carry the whole thing.
Yeah, you can't sort of sleep on the job there because everybody's watching you because you're why they're there.
They're why. How many? What do you? what do you do?
You sign your name about 600 times. You take about 600 photographs. You get up on stage and get your nails painted.
Yeah.
You're basically a dancing monkey for a little while.
Yeah, put a little vest on.
Yeah, you give people a lot of hugs. You shake hands.
A lot of hugging.
You vacillate between smiling and snarling at the camera. And then you hear a lot of heartfelt stories. You know, for some reason, our particular fandom is really intense and devoted, and I think obviously that's why we have so many conventions. Right. But yeah, I mean, there's always people who come up and share like really kind of heart-wrenching stories, and so
about their relationship to the show,
their relationship to us as personalities that they, for some reason, resonate with.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's a very intense. It's always an intense experience, and it's nothing at all like what I thought it would be like.
Right.
I have a friend, Connor Trenier, who was on the last incarnation of the Star Trek franchise.
So what?
Yeah.
9?
Star Trek, whatever.
Voyager.
I don't know. Maybe. I didn't.
Battlestar Galactica. That one. That's the one.
But he was telling, when he got on the show, he was telling me about these fan conventions, and I, Connor, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry that I didn't, divulge this at the time, but when he told me about going to these fan conventions, I thought to myself, oh my God,
what a nightmare.
I hope my career never comes to that. That's just so sad and pathetic. And now it's, it's
a huge part
it's
of
what
your
I
life.
do.
Yeah. So do you think we'll go to the beginning in a bit, but do you think, because in the interest of full disclosure, although people who listen to the show know this already, I do watch Supernatural. I didn't come from the beginning. I think I started around like season 3 or 4, and maybe I started season 5, went back, but like from 5 I've seen everything. And one thing I find unique about the show, and which was confirmed by Jared, is that there's just a 1 and 2, even though you've been there since the beginning, and you, for all intents and purposes, are like
I started in season 4.
Oh, you started in season 4.
Yeah.
See, then I must have started watching in season 4 because I only remember you being there.
Okay.
There
you go.
But like from like a practical standpoint, there are only 2 cast members and everybody else is a guest, right?
Yeah.
Even though they're guys, you and then the actor who's so Beaver, Jim Beaver, who was so amazing. He died. Spoiler alert! I'm going to put a spoiler alert at the top of the show.
He's dead.
He's been dead for a while now. So if you don't know, fuck you.
It's a reverse.
I can't.
Spoiler.
I'm not your mother. I can't help you with everything. That there's so few characters on the show. Even if you kind of calculate you and Bobby into the mix, there was just the 4 of you, really.
Yep.
That's the reason why people feel such an intimate relationship with the show, because there's such a limited number of characters to interact with.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly get to know the characters. I think that people relate. I mean, I don't know. I have waxed philosophical on why it is that the show really grabs people. It's a show that most people don't watch. It's on the CW.
It's not Homeland, Misha.
It's not Homeland.
I mean, like it's that's not an insult. Do you know what I mean? I think when I want you to unpack all of this for me, so sit back and take it in. When I first met Jared, I said, I love your show. He said, why? Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't think you guys know what you have. But at the same time, on its surface, it just feels like a fun time. It feels like a fun hour. It doesn't feel... It's not Homeland. It's not, I'm trying to think of another show that's heavy and fucking about like life and terrorism and shit. You know what I mean? But I think it's about... To me, what I said is it's the only show I know of on television that's about the interior relationships of men. Mm-hmm. Of men specifically. That isn't like, we are men, look at my dick, trying to get laid. It's not what it's about at all. It's about men helping each other and caring for each other. I mean,
that's how we talk behind the scenes.
That's how you talk about it when you're like, what's my motivation?
Yeah.
Caring for me.
Exactly.
You care for me. I care for you in a moderately sexual fashion. Not totally all about sex, but like a little bit. Like I get a little angel buggering every once in a while. That these characters are always in peril. The stakes are very high for them at all times. That is why I think people love the show, because on its face it just feels like a big fun thing where things blow up. But I think at its core it's something different.
That's very interesting.
Agree or disagree?
I actually do agree.
You can disagree if you want to.
But you're wrong. No, I agree, and that's an interesting. The fact that it's about the male experience is interesting and observant, and not something that we talk about often. Mm-hmm. But I think that you're right. It's and they've tried to in season 3, the network mandated that they introduce 2 series regular female cast members, and the fans hated that.
Interesting.
And they pretty much hate any long-standing women who come on the show.
Right. They should call it Supernatural: Bros Before Hoes. That's what
Bros
I mean, that's my DRCW.
But you know, my character came along, and I haven't shared this with you yet, but I'm not a female, and
it's I suspected it, but I didn't. I don't want to embarrass you by bringing.
And the
facial
fans,
hair,
the facial hair is
that.
The fans, you know, embraced my character, and you know, now we have a guy, Mark Shepard, who's, you know, doing a lot of episodes, and Jim Beaver, but anyone who's had sort of staying power of any kind on the show has been a man.
Right.
So that's really interesting. I think that it's also that it's grounded in very personal, very relatable relationships, like you're saying, but that it grapples with sort of Joseph Campbell-esque mythology storylines that appeal to everyone's inner, most imaginative self. So you've got these 2 very disparate ends of the storytelling spectrum that are woven together well. And then it doesn't take itself too seriously at the same time.
Yeah,
so it can
fun.
have that element of camp and not be too oppressive. But something about it is relatable.
Yeah. When you were...
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off because I don't want to hear what you're going to say.
Yeah, it's fine. I didn't either, actually.
I never watched the show before I got on it, and I just saw the posters of, you know, Jared and Jensen on bus stops.
Burning stare and the floppy hair.
And I thought, I'm not going to watch a show about 2 underwear models. That just looks utterly depressing. I don't know why. Seriously,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
looked at it and I thought, well, how the hell does that shit stay on the air?
How could it possibly be on the air still?
But then I got on it and I started. I had to watch it because I'm full of myself. And
so people wouldn't ask you questions that you couldn't answer.
That's right.
That's all that was. Yeah.
And I've come to feel like I'm actually proud to be on this show, and it's really something that you know, a lot of the episodes are fantastic. So, yeah.
I would say a good portion of them are pretty good. Ignominiously, I found the show I like in the gym on a road trip, you know, like traveling for work. So I think I had the same attitude, like especially in the beginning when Jared was floppy haired and adorable, like
9 years old,
human golden retriever,
right.
Jared Padalecki, and you know, and there was like lightning on the posters, you know what I mean, and it was like an early version of, you know, Beautiful Creatures, and then it was like on, and then I watched it, and I was like, this is not at all what I think people would expect it to be. And I also, so I'm assuming, I'm going to guess here, you'll validate because I need you to, that is it predominantly women or men who watch the show?
Well, actually, the demographics of the audience is pretty well mixed. We do have a lot of women watching the show, but it's not, you know, it's not just women.
Yeah, because
18 to 35 that are watching the show, but you go to a fan convention,
it's all chicks,
and it is all women.
Chicks,
I mean,
ladies.
There's a few gay guys,
and then
jealous boyfriends or husbands, also
sullen
or dads,
some sullen men.
But that's about it.
Yeah, and then the preteen dads.
By the way, hot tip for single guys out there: if you want to mingle with some ladies, check out a Supernatural fan convention.
Nothing but forlorn trim everywhere you look. Just doe-eyed. Just grow your hair into that floppy season 4 Padalecki style. Because the interesting thing I think is if I was like a TV executive or an analyst, I would say, okay, I see why Vampire Diaries works for young women or why Scandal works for young women. But when you watch Supernatural, other than the fact that you guys are all fun to look at, there's not a lot. I mean, you know, everyone's always naked on Vampire Diaries. There's nothing but humping on that show. Nothing but undead humping. There's no sex on Supernatural, and I think there's been 3 shirtlessness scenes in 9 seasons.
Yeah. At some point or another, they have had each of us take off our shirts.
I think,
and each time I think the reaction was, well, we're not going to do that again.
Really?
That didn't work.
That didn't work so much.
No.
Evil Jared took his shirt off, and you remember Evil Jared when he was coming out of his wall was coming down, and
the demon
he was
blood,
turning into bad naughty. Naughty Sam. Did you have a shirtless scene? I've got to go back and look at that.
I have. Yeah.
Interesting. What was the point of Cass taking off his shirt?
Cass had to have sex recently.
Recently?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This happened recently. I think I might have read something about this online. So this hasn't aired yet. Very exciting.
It has.
Did I miss it? What? Come on.
It aired, I don't know, a month ago. Yeah.
What?
Cass got laid and you missed it.
I missed it. As far as I'm concerned, Cass works at a 7-Eleven. There's an episode, right? And he thought he was asked on a date, and I missed one episode. Okay. I must have my DVR must have dumped it, and I got to go look at that. How did that go for Cass?
Pretty well. Are you asking me to take my shirt off? Is that what's going on here?
I can look on the internet, and I will. Trust me. That's about to be my phone, my screensaver on my phone. Yeah, so I mean, but I guess my point is, I think that what we would think would pander to women, or that having female characters or having romances or having that stuff hasn't worked for the audience at all. That they like the dynamic between your characters, and that's what matters to them.
Yeah, I think that's right.
When you were pointing and laughing and mocking your friend who was on Trek Battlestar Galactica, Voyager, Deep Space 7, how long between that period of time and when? Tell me. No, let's go back to the beginning. We're going to do that now. Okay. Let's do it. All right. And then, because then we'll come to that moment. It'll be great. Okay. You'll have some time.
Take me on the journey.
Come with me, Mr. Collins, which is not your real name.
No.
So we're going to start right there. Gosh, tell me your real name.
My birth name is Dmitry Tippins Krushnik. Doesn't that have a wonderful ring?
Trippingly off the tongue. I read that your family is from Canada?
My father's side of the family did percolate down across the border from Canada. Some
Trappists,
4 or 5
trapezes,
and
French acrobats,
and they crossed over the Atlantic many generations ago. We're not even quite sure which Slavic country the Krushniks came from.
Yeah, you don't have a sense of what that root is?
In the Ukraine, there's a cookie called a Krushnik.
Oh, okay.
So we think it could be Ukrainian, could be Polish.
Cookie.
But yeah, I like to. I call myself Cookie.
Now I will too.
And my mother, her relatives came over on the Mayflower. But my mom was a hippie, and she liked the name Misha a great deal. And she had a boyfriend. She went on a sort of semester abroad when she was in college to the then Soviet Union, and she met a guy named Mitya, whose real name was Dmitry, which Mitya is a diminutive of Dmitry, and so she thought that his nickname was Misha, and called me Misha, but gave me the legal name of Dmitry. So I have the wrong diminutive name.
Yeah, for your full name. Dmitry
Tippins.
Yeah. And so your mother also liked...
That's her last name.
Okay, I was going to say not like adorable, peculiar musical theater? Tippins, Pippin. That was all I had. That was all I had there. Well, but if you had given me time, I could have come up with something better. Right. Tippins is an adorable middle name.
Thank you.
It's so cute.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yes, picaresque.
When I started acting, everybody expected me to have a thick Russian accent.
Right. Oh, yeah, Dmitry Krushnik. Yes, absolutely.
So I went with my mother's maiden name as Collins, and the name that I've always been called, which is Misha. So.
That's a sweet name.
Which one?
Misha.
Misha. Oh, thanks.
Misha.
Yeah. It means little bear in Russian.
Oh,
isn't that cute?
That is sweetness.
Yeah.
Did you, when you embarked on your acting career, where people you called constantly and you were just like a dude from Boston, they were like, that's not what we were hoping to get a giant...
People did actually think that one of the first big roles that I did was on 24, where I played a Serbian. And
what season? I was on 24 too.
Were you?
Yes, season 4. I was the mole on season 4.
Oh, damn!
I was a cunt.
You were bad.
Yes, I was so naughty. I died.
Yeah, I died as well.
Everybody died on 24.
It was a good arc for me. Season 1.
Oh, I got to go back and watch it. I've seen every episode of 24, but I didn't know who you were then because you were just a dude.
They thought that I was a Serb.
You came into the
producers
audition with the accent?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it. I have to tell you, as an actor, I'll tell myself at night when I'm running lines, I'm going to walk in character. I've done it exactly once in my entire career.
What did you do?
Just, came dressed with our accent, the accent of my people. Which I clearly don't have. And even in my head, I was kind of laughing at myself, which is probably problematic. We're like, oh God, this accent. But yeah, I love it, and I respect it so much when other actors do it. I've just never And when someone yells roll, I have all the balls in the world, but I don't have the balls that take me like from the car to the room, then you wait for an hour and you have to pee and you need a key and all that shit where you're still in character. Yeah. That's hard to do.
I don't usually do that, but I happen to in this instance. I've really
balls.
I've tried to do that and failed.
It's hard.
And that's really the worst.
And once you fail, like I can never do that again. It was just too humiliating. Even when you go in and someone says later, they came in character, I loved it. If you don't get the role, you're like, well, that didn't work. Yeah, I'm just,
Message to self, never again.
And there's some kind of, do you feel like there's some kind of self-examining that goes on where you have like an out-of-body thing where you're in the room and they're like, are they looking at me and thinking, I know this motherfucker's not Serbian?
Oh, totally.
Why is he doing this shit?
100%.
Right? Yeah. But they did think you were Serbian, so clearly you're very good at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was the message that I was trying to convey.
What was that first season like?
It was good. That's not entirely true.
No,
but it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Dennis Hopper played my father. And
God, I got to go back and watch this season.
He was supposed to also, be a Serb.
Right.
I had come on first with my brother. We had sort of established that we were Serbian, established our dialects. And then he came on and couldn't for the life of him do an accent. He was absolutely...
It's okay to
rest
say it.
in peace.
He's dead, so you can say it. He was terrible.
He was abysmal.
Yeah.
And they started rewriting the dialogue.
This is starting to come back to me now. I remember this. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I do. It's like in patches, but I remember. The show was super dark, but there were like a lot of like hidden rooms and back hallways. It was like very yes.
Yeah. They had to write they tried to write dialogue to consonant clusters and vowel sounds that he could make convincingly.
Right.
Because it just sounded awful. And then they gave as much of his dialogue away to us as they could. It was just really terrible. And he was stoned out of his mind the whole time.
Ooh, this is exciting.
And I had my death scene, and I'm lying there, and I'm not really great at working.
Was one of you a drug addict? Was one of the brothers a drug addict?
No.
Okay, I got to go back and watch it.
But I was trying to work up tears, which is not my strong suit. And I was lying there on the gurney, and I have this line of, "Forgive me, Father, I have failed you." And he comes in, and it's Friday night, and the crew is tired, and it's late, and everybody wants to go home. And he comes in, and the first take that we do on first time we roll on my death scene, my emotional death scene, I managed to work up a tear. Very proud of myself, and he just puts a peanut butter and potato chip sandwich right on my forehead after I said, "Forgive me, Father, I have failed you," and he puts it and starts laughing at me, and just laughing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm compounding the injury right now.
It was horrible. I don't know why you're laughing. And then we rolled on another take, and the crew, of course, at that point was like, okay.
Yeah, funny,
we roll again,
Yeah.
and then he just bursts out maniacally laughing while I'm saying the line. And then finally, right before the final take that they gave me, he just said, "You know why I was laughing at you?" I said, "No, why?" He said, "Because you were never my favorite son."
Oh, my God.
He was just
a terrible person.
The smell of pot and it was wafting off of him, and you could sort of see the acid seeping out of his pores.
Right, like that kind of like the halo that comes off a hot pavement. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just like blurry.
He was just so far gone.
First of all, it's the best story ever. By the way.
Yeah, good stuff.
And I find it interesting with old guys. Now, this is not an ageist thing, but I don't like old people. Yeah, I hate old people. Because I did I want to get your opinion on this. I did a series where Tom Berenger came on. Mm-hmm. He had to play a German.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't have sounded German if like he moved his lips and fucking, that like a German person spell, like he could not. And I just thought, like, do these guys not try? Is that like, because when they were young, they were good, right?
Yeah,
like, he wasn't, was he? Yeah, but did he not care?
I think, he definitely didn't care.
Right.
Yeah, that's part of it. But then again, I think the part of your brain that, learns accents and how to speak in foreign languages and stuff like that has long since crusted over and calcified, and you're completely unable to. All of the.
I lost it all years ago.
All of the Russians who live over at Melrose, Fairfax, who are 75 years old and have lived here for 40 years and can't speak English.
Yeah. Okay, but I wonder if it's mechanism or if it's effort, because I feel like you'll see these older actors turn in brilliant performances. I mean, like a Judi Dench or, somebody who just is insanely brilliant. And maybe it's just the accent of the language, but there's a part of me that thinks that this guy's like, he's like, I'm, fucking me, and I'm awesome.
Right.
And why I don't have to try. People are going to buy whatever I'm selling.
Yeah.
And it was, and then no one can give this guy a note, right? No one gave Dennis Hopper a note.
Oh no!
Right? Give this motherfucker a note.
They had a dialect coach that was on set the entire time he was there, who was getting $350 an hour, who I never once saw approach Dennis.
Yes, right? Amazing. And you're like, why are you here? Because we need you now. No one thinks this is working. And I think that's the other thing. These old guys, they're huge, and they're kind of like these cannonballs, right? Like they're runaway trains, and no one wants to upset them because the whole thing breaks down. And meanwhile, they just come and take a big shit in the middle of your fucking day, right? Just every day came in big, steamy, pot-smelling, potato chip-filled shit.
Yep.
And fucks your work up. Exactly. That's the worst part.
Yep. And it's not just with old people. I mean, this can happen with actors of any age, frankly.
It's true, but I feel like
that's what Jared Padalecki is like to work with.
Well, I knew that about him, right? Just not generous and a saboteur.
Yeah.
You could tell that about him.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. I'm always not delighted, but relieved to hear that story from other people, because I also feel like as an actor, it's Dennis Hopper. So, like, for me, it was, Tom Berenger. And what was I going to do? Hey, Tom Berenger, no one will tell you what I need to say to you, which is that you suck.
Right.
Go spend 2 hours in your trailer learning how to sound like your character. First he was French, then he was German, and then he was Southern. Every day was a different fucking thing. Mm-hmm, and he ruined the whole thing for everybody. But you couldn't have said anything. None of us. You know what I mean? Like, there's something unique about that. And I don't know. I mean, and if you probably had spoken up, we would have gotten in big trouble.
Yeah. It didn't even occur to me.
He put a potato chip sandwich on your face. It
didn't occur to me to say anything when he put a sandwich on my face.
That's so disrespectful, Misha. If he was still alive, I would go with you to his house to egg it right now. Fuck you and your paintings.
That would be fun.
Wouldn't that be good? Right? Just egg the shit out of his house in Malibu.
Yeah.
Was that your first big break?
No, that was my biggest to date at that point. But I had done a bunch of stuff at that point. You're
like a working actor. You're like a journeyman. You had worked a lot.
I toil.
Well, but I mean,
no, I hadn't worked a ton, but I had done a couple of indies and a few guest spots, and I had been on Charmed already.
Of course, let's just get it out there. I mean, the internet will tell you that anyway. Why hide it? You grew up in Boston?
I did. Mm-hmm.
And with a name like Dmitri Tippins Krushnik, were you an artsy kid? Your mom was a hippie.
My mom was a hippie, and we moved a lot when I was growing up.
Running from the feds?
Running from landlords more than anything.
Yeah?
We were occasionally evicted and often didn't have money for rent. So
was it just you and your mom?
Me, my mom, and my brother.
Okay.
My younger brother. So and usually at least one dog. And
that's how you smuggled the pot out, was in the dog.
That's
no, okay.
That's not.
I don't know how pot or dogs work.
We got pulled over once for having a headlight out, and my mom said, my brother at the time was probably 5, and I was probably 8, and my mom said, "Quick, hide this," and handed my brother a big bag of pot, and he stuck it in his underwear, and then she proceeded to get arrested for having outstanding tickets and a warrant for her arrest. And so we went into the police station, and my brother had, he's 5 years old, and he's got a big bag of pot in his underwear. And it was very exciting.
It sounds exciting.
It was thrilling. I was really nervous. I'm really glad that she gave it to him because he handled it much better than I would.
Well, he was 5, so
he was cool.
Yeah, they're icy at that age. Yeah. Icy.
But so we moved around a lot, and I was always until I was I think in 9th grade was the first time that I was in the same school for 2 years.
Wow!
So up until that point, we moved around constantly, which meant that I was always kind of the new kid or the outsider, and sometimes we changed schools in the middle of the school year. So I was always an outsider, and I was also, and my mom also would, send me to school wearing, for instance, tights and plastic cowboy boots. And I thought, oh, this is great. This is a great uniform. But the other kids, didn't think it was as cool as I thought it was.
Tights cowboy was a good look.
So, would
you choose your clothes, or would she just be like, "This is what's clean"?
Well, I'm sure that I thought this was looked great, but there was I wasn't getting any feedback from my peers. It was, and we were, we never had a television, so I was sort of cut off from pop culture. and from intimate peer group.
Yeah.
So
anything anything relatable, anything that would like tether you to other people.
Right. Other than my mother.
Right.
Who, was very creative and artistic and free-spirited, but, wasn't necessarily.
She sounds like a terrible adult, like a
dressing
great
me well.
person, but a terrible adult. I feel like artsy personalities can be loving and wonderful.
She was, in some respects, a terrible adult, and I don't actually mean that in
not a bad person,
in a disparaging way.
Yeah, not a bad person.
I aspire to be a worse adult than I am. Sometimes I can spend more time than I wish I would being organized and responsible, and I kind of wish I was a little bit more free-spirited and freewheeling sometimes. But she. So anyway, it made me more of an outsider and a little bit more introverted and cautious and uncertain of my surroundings, and I kind of withdrew, and I also kind of started to find ways to mask my insecurities and to blend in with my environment. So one of the things that I would do is I would sort of take on characters, and I would go into character, and I would be a Russian foreign exchange student, or I'd develop an Indian accent or something like that. I'd develop these little characters and accents and shticks and ways to be funny as a way of ingratiating myself to the other kids. And I think that ultimately that is probably why I ended up doing what I'm doing. I was trying to find a way to fit in by being silly. And that worked out to be my job for a living now. I don't know why I went on that long tangent.
It was
you
good.
asked me.
It was good. I asked you
about
if you were an artsy kid.
But
your mom was an artsy person. She was a poet, and she also was fleeing the law.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something about I didn't have TV when I was growing up either. And then I would seek it out when I would go to other people's houses, and I would.
Same for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I didn't even. I came not to play with you, to stare at your TV. Go, leave me alone.
If someone taught when I was at if I would go over to a friend's house for a sleepover or something, and there was a TV on, people couldn't talk to me and get
didn't
my
even matter
attention.
what was on, right?
They could be screaming my name, and I wouldn't turn away because it was just mesmerizing.
Did she also have all the attendant other things like no sugar and no delicious things? And
we didn't have prohibitions on sugar. She did make a lot of she made homemade bread and canned things and stuff like that. There was a lot of stale, crusty bread. But I had paper routes from an early age where I would get supplemental income.
Yeah,
and I spent all of it on junk food.
Yeah.
So I would go for the Twinkies, the Ho-Hos, the Yoo-Hoos, Doritos of the various different incarnations. Yes. I mean, when Cool Ranch Doritos came out,
come on,
that was just such a revelation for me. And I would just power through bag after bag after
till
bag
you were injured, till you had injured the inside of your mouth,
and yes, and my entire gastrointestinal tract. And when I was 11, I weighed the same as I did when I started college.
Oh, really?
Because I was just binging on junk food at that point.
Right.
So perhaps that was a bit of a way to rebel against my mother, who logged hours at the health food co-op.
Yeah. Your mom sounds awesome. My mom made this fudge that was like carob and sesame.
Carob.
Carob. Can we all agree as a team? Fuck carob. And she would add to it, as if it wasn't repulsive enough, sesame seeds, which should also be set on fire, and raisins, which was the only saving grace of the entire dish.
I gotta say, raisins do make
everything better. Everything better. So it was like tasted like dirt with raisins in it. And it was such a poor substitute for chocolate as to enrage me. I would be furious at her.
I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
I just wanted you to not feel bad about the crusty bread situation. I wanted you to have some company. And I would also do that with the junk food, although I didn't have a job, which is to eat it in secret. It was like the equivalent of like childhood porn, not kiddie porn.
Yeah.
The porn of your childhood, which is you would eat it alone, secret it into your room when no one was looking, eat it in the closet.
I didn't make it back to my room, but I had a spot. John's Market, which was the go-to place, the convenience store. There was you wrap around the building, there was a little shrub and a dumpster, and you could sort of hide there and eat several bags of chips.
God, just quickly. Power through them,
and then
right?
hop on your bike and get back on your way.
Right, and then you just smelled
I get home, my mom
capitalist running dogs smell on you. So were you acting in high school?
I did a couple of plays in high school.
How did you find it? Like, did someone say, hey, kid with the voices and the talking to yourself who smells like Cool Ranch, you seem like theater might be the place for you?
I did a couple of plays in high school, and I didn't really like it that much. I liked flirting with girls backstage.
Who doesn't?
Right. I mean, but for me, actually getting up on stage was a little bit mortifying, and I wasn't into it in a sort of artistic sense at all at that point. But yes, it was that. I mean, I would go into character, and I was kind of funny, and I was kind of ballsy. I would, go into restaurants and carry on as
whole conversations,
and people would ask me about my homeland, and I would carry on. And I went when I was graduating college. I was they had this orientation from the Career and Placement Services at the University of Chicago, and they brought in all of these consulting agencies to do interviews with us, and we had to wear suits and get haircuts. And I started the process, and I was just horrified. I was like, I can't do this. I don't know what to do with I thought I was going to go on this track, and now I can't do this.
Horrifying realization.
And so I went to the head of the theater department, and I asked him, if I wanted to maybe try out acting, how would I get into that after school? And he said, don't. What are you talking about? You've never shown your face up here at all. You have no business doing that. It would take years of devotion, training, skills that you don't have, natural talents that you don't have. Absolutely, do not do it, unequivocally. And so I did. I gave it a shot.
Yeah, of course. You're like, oh, fuck you and Cara.
Yeah.
This was for what year was this?
This was the end of my senior year.
The end of your senior year. So,
yeah.
Wait a second. Okay, I need to do different math. So you're a senior, and you've already completed essentially most of your requirements for whatever degree you had selected for yourself, which was something soul crushing like economics or
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have to go back to the beginning? What did you do?
I left. I moved to Washington D.C. and I started taking acting classes and photos of myself and fucking around and got some jobs.
In D.C. Why did you choose D.C.?
I interned at the White House.
Well, fancy fucker.
For Bill Clinton. This, incidentally, was right before Monica Lewinsky had sullied the position for everyone.
For all eternity.
And I was working at National Public Radio also.
You're so progressive. It's adorable.
I was.
It's adorable.
I was a little
I like this.
progressive,
this is cute. You and
baby.
Your crusty bread and your public radio. It's super cute.
I was a huge public radio fan. Maybe that was because I was cut off from television and pop culture, and that was the only sort of outside messages that were beaming into me. So I loved public radio.
Love public radio.
I love it a lot less than I used to. But
you've got more choices now.
But yeah, my girlfriend at the time and wife now, we've been together since high school.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
It's been a long time. But she got for my birthday, she had a surprise for me.
I was like, for my birthday, she got pregnant. She got a surprise for you.
And I was like, oh, come on, give me a hint, just give me a clue, She said, I'm not going to tell you anything. I said, well, we're going somewhere. Just tell me the address. And she said, we're going to 2020 M Street Northwest. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Really?
That's NPR headquarters. Like, I was such a fan of
NPR.
You knew
immediately.
That.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so.
And then what did you do when you were there?
Sit
in on an episode of Morning Edition?
No. It was nothing that nerdy. It was All Things Considered.
The Puzzle with Real Shorts?
It was All Things Considered.
Nothing. Oh, wait a minute. Did you just say that All Things Considered was not as nerdy as Morning Edition?
Come on.
That's not. There's no difference in the nerdiness of those two things. No, not even a little bit. That's so adorable. Yep. I actually have not listened to commercial radio since high school.
Yeah.
I love public radio, which makes me slightly Caucasian. So you're living in D.C. and you're interning for the President Clinton, and you're just consuming mass quantities of the gentle audio entertainment of public radio, and you're acting. You're doing plays.
Yep. Yep.
And do you have a vision for yourself at this point? Like, are you like, no, I'm going to go to Hollywood?
Actually, yeah. When I started, my very first plan was to become a movie star very quickly.
Yes.
And then use that cachet to make films of my own choosing, and then to become president.
Of both of those things.
So that was my long-term
Not in conflict
plan.
whatsoever, by the way.
Totally
No. Mm-hmm.
Actually, kind of no joke. I thought I was going to go into politics, and I was like, you know what? A great way to jumpstart that is just get famous.
Notoriety.
And then,
well, it's not entirely unheard of. I mean, I'm thinking about the Clinton era. We didn't have Jesse Ventura or Al Franken, but we had Ronald Reagan, and we had there's somebody else. There was somebody else who came from entertainment.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, Schwarzenegger. He was already around at that time?
Well,
he
was
him.
around then, but he wasn't governor yet.
Can I say for the record that I hate him?
You can. Go ahead.
I actually like his movies, but I hate him as a politician.
Yeah, he's
also kind of a douche as a person.
Exactly.
I think he touches people's breasts against their will.
Yeah.
Out of character. Out of character.
Right.
I think that's his thing, is I touch movies. But yeah, you had a couple of examples. And of course you would be way better than both of those people.
Thank you.
In every way.
Thank you.
I like that. I think that's such a counterintuitive plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's delusional, I think is the proper term. But
it's radical. I'm going to give you radical. I'm not going to push you all the way to delusional. So then what was the thing that drew... And so, okay, so then what got you... Did you move from there to L.A.?
Yeah.
What got you to L.A.?
I got a couple of roles in movies that were shooting in D.C., and it was quick and easy. And I thought, you know what? Let's either New York or L.A. I was at that point, I had started a software company with my wife, or girlfriend at the time, now
You're
wife.
Industrial.
Yes.
Industrious.
Yes.
Those two different things.
This was, not industrial.
This is not industrial at all.
This was post-industrial. And, I didn't know anything about computers or software, so it was kind of a weird fit, and neither did she. But we started a software company, and I was supporting our struggling software business with my acting revenue, and it seemed like, this is stupid. This is fucked up. Let's
the arrow is pointing the wrong way.
Pull the cord on this and start over. So we moved to L.A., and it was kind of a roll of the dice. L.A., New York. But I drove out here, didn't know a soul, and just sort of hit the ground running. I was so naive about how the whole process worked. I mean, not only had I not watched television
ever,
I really was fucking fish out of water. It was kind of ridiculous. My first real acting job was in Girl Interrupted with Winona Ryder and Angelina Jolie.
Excellent pedigree.
And I went I was just going in for my first day of shooting, and I had this sort of leather vest that I had to put on, and I had all of these sinew ties that I had to sort of tie up, and I couldn't figure out how to put it on, and I was in the hair and makeup trailer trying to figure it out, and one of the girls that worked in there, I said, I'm sorry, can you help me tie this on, because I'm a mess, I can't figure it out, I'm tied up in knots, and she helped me, she untangled it, and then retied it, and threaded it through the holes. It took quite a while, but she got it. And then later we got to the set, and I found out, she's one of the other actors on the show. Mm-hmm. Now, in further hindsight, I know that was Angelina Jolie, which
interesting.
To me, meant nothing at the time.
Hey, you, brunette, over there in the corner. If you could...
Yeah, I got out here, and I thought, you get an agent first.
Sure.
And so I did that. But I was very, very brass and ballsy, because I thought... Everybody who wants an agent gets one. I didn't realize that it was competitive or difficult.
Hiring a lawyer or getting your oil changed. So just got an agent.
Yeah. I'll pick the best one.
I like that hubris, though. There's something unstudied about it. You didn't know it wasn't going to work, so of course it was going to work.
Yeah.
I love everything about that story. And there was something about you and your vest. I can't remember I know what I was going to ask you. The vest is many of this before, but. I remember so vividly, like my first couple of times on a set, being just terrified. But more than terrified, being confused, because I just didn't know how anything worked. Like, where did I sit? What did I do? When was it my turn? Who was I offending? Who was I upset? Did you feel that way when you were coming here, or was it more that you just were so kind of like in the dark about anything, and you were like, "Hey, Angelina Jolie, tie my sweater"?
Oh no, I got really nervous and really, and I was. When you get on set, for the first time, and you learn your lines, maybe kind of, or maybe you think, no, I won't learn them too much,
right?
Because I'll feel more organic. So then you go in not really knowing your lines, and then you get on set and you think all I have to do is say these lines to this other person, but then you have blocking to worry about, which you don't even know. I literally didn't know what a mark was. When they're like, hit your mark. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? What's a mark? Or I remember very distinctly the scene was the scene that I had with Winona Ryder. I'm sitting talking to her on a couch, and the lighting guy comes over and says, you're in her key light. I didn't know what a key light was. Yeah. It's like, just if you move your head a little bit, you see the shadow, and I'm already like, well, I can't. Okay, all right.
How do I remember?
I'm trying to remember my lines right here. It's very difficult. And then the director comes over and says, talk like a little bit loud because we're going to be putting music under this scene. So we got to hear what you're saying, but it's got to sound like you're talking over music. All of these little ingredients become short circuit material for your brain, and eventually I'm just sitting there sort of mumbling quietly to myself, not saying my lines,
right, staring
casting a shadow
vacantly
over Winona Ryder's face, and it's just a disaster, missing my mark.
And there's so much language that when you've been on a set forever is like shorthand to you, that when you've never been there, you just are so, now I'll say like, what's the line? And I mean, like, what's the eye line? But like, if someone said, they were like, what's the eye line? I don't even, what, my line? What's my line? Right. Like, it's this horrifying paralytic fear and all this, just like that low level penny taste of fight or flight.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, this is about to go, I'm going to shit my pants and run away any minute. Yeah. Terrifying. And you want to do superlative work. You want to actually come in there and like rock everybody's socks off, right? Yeah. And you don't. No, you don't. And then you're big. You were like, that's, what's great is you built this body. You're like working. And then Dennis Hopper put a peanut butter and potato chip sandwich on my face. I don't like him anymore. I just want to say for the record, I'm not a fan
myself.
How was there, because I haven't studied your resume, was there some massive thing, because now you've been on Supernatural for 5 seasons. Yeah. So was there some thing in between, like before that was the kind of between 24, which was, was like your big break, and when you got Supernatural, like some pinnacle, some kind of peak?
No. I mean, I did, things that almost took off.
Right.
That almost happened.
Yeah.
But no.
I feel like that's a big part of actor's life.
It is a big part.
Is it doing a million things that almost catch on, right? Yeah. Like just pilots that are awesome but don't go, or some movie that you have high hopes for and it doesn't quite. That's like a big part of our life.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
My best story along those lines is I was up for the role of the young Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, yes.
Prequels, and they were very hush-hush about it. I wasn't allowed to tell anybody, but I was going up to Skywalker Ranch to meet with George Lucas.
Which is the coolest.
Super, super cool.
Oh, it's as cool as you would imagine.
Super excited.
Yeah.
But I wasn't even allowed to tell the driver who picked me up at the airport what I was going there for.
Oh.
I had to say that I was going for a looping session for something else because it was top.
They gave you a total made-up story, like lies.
Didn't tell anybody but my agent. That was the edict.
Were you freaking out?
I was totally freaking out and totally thrilled. And I got up there a little early, and they sit me in this room, and I'm just sort of sitting there by myself. And they say, he's going to be done. You're here a little early. It's still going to be about an hour. So if you want to just take a walk around the grounds, you can.
Oh, come on.
I went out and I walked around the grounds.
It's
spectacular. I mean, it's like a campus in these beautiful oaks, and the buildings are incredible. They're all built from bridges that he
reclaimed wood, and it's almost in like a caldera, but not quite. But like you drive in, and then it's surrounded by mountains on all sides, but where the road goes in. Yeah. He has his own fire station.
It's
and his own lake full of trouts. I think the plural of trout is not trouts.
Troutai.
Troute. But it's amazing. There's like a running trail, and it's crazy.
Yep. And there's a little stream that babbles out of the trout lake, which I'm walking along, and I think, I've got to maybe. I'm walking, and I sort of start scrambling through the woods, and then I come to the stream, and I think, you know what? I'm going to step in the stream.
Yeah.
Because then I'll have like wet pants, and it'll be a good story for when I go in to talk to Lucas.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I was out, fucking around in the woods, which is kind of like a young, scrappy Anakin Skywalker
Yeah,
thing
like
right?
I'm not so freaked out about this that I can't.
Just a guy,
yeah,
right?
I'm a dude.
So I step in and I have one leg wet up to the knee, and then there's a llama farm up on the hill above the place, and you can see the llamas. They're looking at me like, "What are you doing in the stream, guy?" And
there's a first AD on the other side going, "Llamas, action."
I go in for the meeting. I get a little bit, I don't know, choked up, nervous, something.
Yeah.
I have this wet leg up to the knee, but neither he nor I ever makes mention of it. So it's just like this ridiculous, embarrassing kind of clusterfuck of a thing. And I had told all these great sort of stories from my childhood, which evidently the casting director thought merited me going on to meet George Lucas. But she was in the room too, so it was the three of us, and I was like, well, I'm not going to tell the same stories that I told before.
Yeah.
So I didn't really tell any stories, and I had this wet leg, and it was just kind of a disaster. And I left, and I was still super, super excited, and I wanted to tell somebody about it, but I couldn't even. They scared us because they said we cast the little kid who played Anakin Skywalker before. Then he told people, and we uncast him, and we cast the kid who ended up playing him. So don't you tell anyone. So I go into. I have a little time before my flight. I go into San Francisco. I'm not even calling my best friend to tell him about it. I go into a pizza place and I say, I get a slice of pizza, and I say to the kid behind the counter, I was like, listen, I've just got to tell somebody. I'm so excited. I was just up at Skywalker Ranch auditioning for the role of the young Anakin Skywalker. I just had to tell somebody. I had to say it. And he said, no way. This is 100% true.
Wow.
No way.
Thank God,
My cousin is Natalie Portman. My parents own the property adjacent to Skywalker Ranch.
Oh.
And he said, what is your name? And I said, Misha Collins.
No,
just white as a ghost. And I walked out and I went about a block away. And then I came back in, cradling my pizza. And I said, can you please not tell anybody my name that I said? It was unbelievably bad luck. It was unbelievable.
Oh my God. That's funny because my dad is George Lucas, and it's weird. I'm just doing this for summer internship. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's such a good story. First of all, this is a mean thing to say, but the person they did cast in that role, not so great. Not so great.
Yeah.
Not so great. But that is a testament to how kind of I don't say soul crushing because we don't work in a mine, but just how spirit quelling the audition process can be. Like you can just come in all golden retriever puppy, got a wet leg and a million stories, and then just melt. And there's something about knowing. It's almost knowing what could be. Like you know what a big deal this is. You know what I mean? You know what it could mean for your life, and that in its own way can unhinge anybody. Like have you ever tested for?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so when of course you have. So you have talked about this on the show where you sign your contract before you ever do the audition, and your agents have been arguing for days over what you're going to get paid, not just in year 1, but maybe in year 5, and what your pay increases are going to be, and the size of your trailer, and how many tickets they have to give you if you have to travel for work. By the time you audition, you've already, in your head, bought a German car, and which Dennis Hopper couldn't drive because he can't play German. And like you've gotten your beautiful wife or fiance or girlfriend or whatever she is at the time, big ring. You've taken her to Hawaii. You've knocked her up a couple of times. This is before you ever even get in there. You know what I mean? And then, how can you work? How can you do work in those conditions?
It's kind of amazing. Well, yeah, and I sort of being negative and self-destructive, I'll sign on the dotted line and then go into the room and think, I'm losing that 7 years. I'm losing all of those millions. Right
now, it's happening. It's sifting through my fingers.
I can feel it.
Yeah. Oh, it's and I don't think I think anybody would say, well, snap out of it. But those moments are involuntary. You know what I mean? It's like when they talk about Olympians, like visualizing themselves winning a race. Like I think actors have to do that for themselves in addition to doing the work. They have to see themselves doing well in the room because the natural, like literally almost like non-mental, physical, your body's like, I don't have a penis, but if I had one, I imagine it would retreat inside my body at this time. I don't want it to go in there, but
that's why we also we have to stuff our underwear during auditions.
Is that how that? Okay, good.
Because it becomes an innie,
right? We could store your sides in there. These things are happening against your will, totally against your will. So now we're at the point where you're mocking and pointing at your friend who's on Battlestar 7 Galactica, Trek 9. I never end up being that guy. Mm-hmm. And then you auditioned for the part of Castiel?
I did. Yep.
And you know that it means you're going to leave and live in Vancouver?
No, actually, which made the process a lot easier. It was just a couple of episodes. So, it just evolved into being much more.
It was just going to be an arc?
Yeah.
And then what happened when they told you that you were going to... Was it like a slow evolution?
It was a slow evolution.
Okay.
They added, we'll do 3 more, we'll do a season, we'll do a couple seasons.
Yeah.
It was incremental.
You're like...
And then they changed their mind. We're going to kill you off. No, we won't kill you off. We'll bring you back.
Everybody's died.
I have sort of emotional whiplash from being on the show.
Everybody dies on that show.
But yeah. It was incremental, so...
So you would just kind of be flying back and forth. And yeah. You're like the maypole of the Winchester's tent, or you have been until, you know what I mean? Like you're
that's good.
You're just the center, right? You're holding everything up all the time.
Yeah.
Now
I like that. I'm going to tell them that you said.
Tell them I said you guys would be nothing without Misha Collins. Tell them I said so.
Pass that on.
There's a lot of mythology about your set. It's wacky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've decided that you manufacture those stories because you run out of things to talk about at conventions, as wacky as people say. A lot of pranks.
Oh, the pranking.
A lot of pranking and wackiness.
We have done a little bit of pranking on the set, but we also, I think, quickly recognized in one another that this could escalate into full-scale war if we didn't sort of call a truce and dial it back. So there's a lot of fucking with one another while we're rolling to try to get one another to break.
Yeah, I like that.
Which I'm terrible.
All
you have to do is wink at me the wrong way, and I'll start laughing. I can't keep a straight face.
Well, I've got 2 things for you. First is wait until one of them is lying on their back, sandwich on the forehead. Apparently works very well.
Okay, good call.
No, that's the only suggestion I have for you. I'm the worst, and if I start going, I cannot stop.
Me too.
Tears, like I literally paralyzed.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then
it's embarrassing.
You get mad at yourself, and you get mad at everybody else. Yes, I'm an asshole. We're all assholes. Yeah. Self-flagellation, smacking yourself in the face. I also would imagine, because there are so few kind of core players on the show, that the days are long for you guys, like longer than they might be on like a big 10-hander like Grey's Anatomy or something. There's a million people running around.
Yeah, it can be a tough schedule for sure.
Are you in Vancouver a lot, or have you been? I mean, do you have a place there? Do you live there now?
Yeah.
Live in Canada?
Well, no. I mean, I fly back and forth as much as I possibly can. I have 2 young children
2
now.
Baby people.
And at the moment, they're more or less not traveling with me.
How old are they?
1 and 3.
You and your wife held out a long time before you started procreating.
Did. I know.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yep. We went
a lot of restraint.
Almost 20 years before
no
we
sex
had sex
until so that's good. That's discipline. I'm amazing you can be that disciplined in your personal life and then not disciplined on set. But that's another story.
I save it for my marriage.
Good for you. Apparently you didn't even save it for that. You say we just had sex twice. 1 3 years ago and then 1 year ago. So you just go back and forth.
Yeah.
There was some question I had about Canada, about working in Canada. I mean, that show is its own animal. It's been around for so long. It's got its own kind of culture, which is different than going onto a set that's new, or, you know what I mean? Like, has everybody been there for a long time?
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like a very practical show, too. Like, you're shooting on location a lot.
Yeah. I mean, we have our own visual effects department, and they do fake a lot of stuff. But we're out in the rain, in the woods at night in Vancouver in the winter a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
It seems exhausting.
Yeah, it can be. And the schedule, it has been for some reason getting a little bit better, but it's not uncommon to start the shooting week at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, and then we don't finish until 6:30 in the morning on Saturday, going all night long on Friday.
I know this world.
So you've got sort of chronic jet lag and deep, deep, deep dark circles under your eyes. and a feeling that you're having early onset dementia, and that your life is slowly slipping away from you. That can occasionally crop
like
up.
a permeating sadness.
Yeah.
This is a sadness. I've talked about it a little bit on the show because so to unpack that for everybody who has not been to a supernatural convention. You work a 12-hour day. You're allowed a 12-hour day on a set by rules, various and sundry rules. And then everybody has to have 12 hours. Well, actors have to have 12 hours. Everybody else is fucked. But the actors have to have 12 hours before they come back to work. But inevitably, everything goes over. So the first day is not 12 hours. First day is 14 or 15 hours. And then you have to push every day to make that 12-hour turn. So then by Friday, you're going to work at 7 at night and then going home at 7 in the morning on Saturday.
Right.
And then you sleep all day because you're a vampire and you hate your life.
Yep.
And you sleep to let the tears evaporate off from your salty cheeks. You have one night to be a person, Saturday night. Mm-hmm. Maybe you manage it, maybe
Which
you
feels
don't.
like Saturday morning.
Yes.
Because your body's all fucked up.
Yeah. But there's something like, I just remember being like kind of furious about it. I was like, I've got to go out. If I don't go out and get a meal or have a drink, I've lost. You know what I mean? I've let the show eat me.
Right.
I've got to do something.
Right.
So you go out with your co-stars and you do whatever you do. And then Sunday is like...
But the joke's on you because you've still lost.
Because you lost before you started.
Yeah.
There is no winning. Yes. Checkmate, my friend. And then Sunday is like laundry, learn your lines, go to bed at 5 p.m. because you have to be up at 4 in the morning to get back to set.
Yeah.
So this specifically, the 1 hour scripted show takes everything away from you.
Yeah.
When you're in a season where a cast was in every episode and super heavy, it must have been really difficult.
It's been lucky for me because it's Jared and Jensen have to be in every episode,
every scene.
Mm-hmm. It's gotten a tiny bit better for them in the last couple of years, but their schedule is much more bruising than mine. Mm-hmm. There was a little while when I was, sort of popping in for just one scene in an episode, which was fantastic, and I got to sort of gleefully skip off home and have 7 days off. But,
right.
But yeah, when it's intense, it's really intense.
Mm-hmm. As an actor, do you find that there's something that having a job like this confers upon you that is desirable and something that is not, other than like the tactical stuff about not getting sleep and stuff like that? I feel like as actors, we're always like, I can't wait to have a regular gig. But then when you have a regular gig, you give up something else creatively because you're playing the same role over and over again for a long period of time.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. I feel a little bit lucky on this show in that it changes a lot. It's not just a typical procedural where you're interviewing perp number one in the interview room every episode. It's changing. We're confronting different things all the time. Our characters change, so that's good. Mm-hmm. But it is, I think everyone falls prey to this. You start just phoning it in sometimes. You can just learn your lines and show up and know that it'll work out okay.
Right,
you don't have to work that hard, which is good and it's bad. It's actually good in some respects because you are just getting comfortable with the process and it's becoming more
confident about your choices.
And you're not second guessing yourself as much. And I think that that's invaluable. But yeah, we didn't really. Maybe. Not speaking for you, but I assume that we didn't get into this for job security.
No,
but it is nice to have
it
is when it comes along.
Well, it is. It's shocking because you don't expect it, and when you have it, there's like a dissonance, right? Like.
Yeah, you're kind of waiting for something to go wrong.
Something bad to happen, And then also I always feel like, when you're not working, you want a job so bad. And then when you have a job and then you get offered another job and you can't take it, you're furious.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like, I should be able to take all the jobs. Because I remember when I had literally -10 jobs. Right. Now, I'd like to have 2 jobs. But you're also a published poet. I read that on the internet.
Oh.
Fancy pants.
Wow, this internet business is really...
The internet knows things.
Yes, I have written some poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's ballsy.
Yeah,
I feel like
I didn't. I was just writing poems for some reason. It was therapeutic for me. I don't know. That sounds a little bit clinical, but it was just something that started happening. I was writing poems for no particular reason, and I didn't show them to even my wife at first, and then I started showing them to her, and then I thought, I'll just send a few into these little journals and see what happens. And they published several of them, and I was shocked. Yeah. And actually, more delighted and this was a total surprise to me. But when I got the letter saying, yes, we're taking your I was, first of all, stunned.
Yeah.
And second, really thrilled in a way that I was happier about that than any job I had gotten as an actor in a long time, which was really kind of interesting to me.
No, it makes perfect sense to me because in so much as acting is delightful and fulfilling, it's very much like a transaction. Like you need someone to write something, and then you need someone to pay for it, and then you need someone to cast it, and they need to hire you, and there's all these moving parts, but the poem is yours.
Yeah.
Yours alone, right?
Yeah, it's not a collaborative effort at all.
It's your vision, fully, in every way.
Yeah.
You didn't even need to run it by anybody, like notes.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably should have.
You could have asked your wife for some notes, and I think she probably would have given you some, but she didn't want to hurt your feelings. Yeah. Are you continuing to write? Are you continuing to publish?
I am thinking about trying to publish some more, and I'm writing a little bit. I mentioned these children earlier, and boy, do they make it tough to do.
Everything.
Do you have kids?
No. I don't know if you know this.
No, I don't.
But they come out of your vagina.
Shut the fuck up.
That's the part I just can't square myself with.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
And their heads are not small.
They're
I don't know.
huge.
Yeah.
I won't sit on the toilet for 20 minutes, so I'm not going to push on anything for 24 hours.
It's so it's hard. It's been hard to have a job, and
that is filling your life. 2 little babies, 1 and 3. That's like everything.
Yeah.
One of your children has a unusual middle name.
Anaximander.
What does that mean?
Anaximander.
Is it one of the angels in heaven who smites and smotes?
Oh no!
I know it's not.
Thankfully, mercifully, it's not. Yes, I named my son after one
of
the characters on my
so
show.
Fucking awful. I know. You know what I just was just now? Somebody at a convention.
Anaximander was, by some accounts, the inventor of science.
Ooh.
A very, very, very early Greek philosopher.
Oh.
Yes, predating
That's a
Aristotle.
cool name, Anaximander.
Yeah.
That's a middle name?
So it's a very highfalutin
It's
explanation, right?
Falutin.
But we were just browsing around the internet looking for names, trying to find a middle name that we liked, and Anaximander made us laugh at the idea of using that for his middle name. And when we ran it by ourselves a second time and laughed twice, we were like, well, we've got to do it.
Why not? Why not? And
he's 3, he's very talkative and a bright little guy, and he cannot say his name.
No,
Yeah.
but when he's 22 and talking to the ladies,
Talking to a shrink.
boom.
Yeah.
Or a shrink.
Yeah.
A lady shrink. Be like, and my middle name is the source of all of this, all of it. Huddled pool of tears on a poorly upholstered couch. Before we do self-inflicted wounds, I want to one more time touch upon the nature of those conventions. And there was something very specific about that world, and I wish I could remember what it was. You guys go all over. You go to like Australia and shit.
Yep.
Do you guys divvy up that responsibility? Like you guys split the time, or you guys do Friday and then some Jim Beaver does Saturday and then Jared and Jensen do Sunday?
It kind of does end up working out that way, but it's not like we powwow with one another. And I do all of the conventions because I'm a, as you say, hooer. And Jared and Jensen do most of them. And then there's a sort of gaggle of us who just
thank God for Azar Chow's. Push some of the shit onto that kid. He seems young and hale. He can take it.
He's energetic.
Right?
He can still stay
bottomless.
Up. Doesn't
adorable.
have early onset
no
Alzheimer's. So
early onset, the thing I forgot.
Whatever it's called.
He's perky. Who's the guy who plays the devil? Yeah, get yourself a beverage. Would you like another soda? We're almost. Yes, I'm going to use you up, my friend. Oh no, we're in great shape. This is perfect. Okay. Yeah, no, whatever you like. You can get anything out of there. You could have a beer. You could have whatever you wanted.
I'll give you a few bucks.
Don't have to do that. Just put in a good word for me with your convention goers. I guess I'm never going to get to the core of this, which is something about the conventions being a new invention and being a very specific thing and being this kind of bottomless font of adulation that is altogether modern. It's not that there haven't been fans. It's like the format for fans being able to interact with these people is new. You know what I mean? In such an intimate way. Even Comic-Con was like, you got an hour panel and maybe you signed something. But this whole weekend, are people cosplaying?
Yeah, uh-huh.
So
there's always
like a
30 or 40
coat.
people dressed as my character in a trench coat. And yeah.
I'm never going to get I'm not going to get to the core of the surreality of this. I want to make some kind of existential comment about like, who we are as a culture and how we relate to television, that it's like bigger than just the hour that we watch and people have been kind of consumed by the culture around the show. I don't know how to articulate the question. So I thought I'd just babble on and then you'll see something great. Make me look smart.
I do think that it's a very interesting time. And on the one hand, for people who are performers who like to show off, it's great. It's gratifying because we go into this little box where there's a cameraman and a director and we record an image, but we never see our audience. So to be able to go out and see your audience and interact with them, it's almost like giving the screen actor or the television actor a little bit of stage time, and getting a little bit of that gratification. So from our vantage point, there's that. But there is this other thing going on, which is that people are relating to the characters on their televisions in a very personal, intimate, almost familial way. We are known to them in a way that I never even began to process until going out and meeting them. And it's baffling, and also for a kid who never watched TV and who still doesn't really. It's very surreal, and it's very strange, and it's very interesting. But of course, why do human beings tell stories? Why is this a tradition that has been carrying on since the dawn of language? It is absolutely essential to to human nature, and I think that we can become a little bit flippant about it, and we can be dismissive of it and see it as, I think the term entertainment is really dismissive,
right?
Because it's not just an opiate, and it's not just to pass the time. It's to, we're telling stories, and telling stories is something that civilizations build their foundations on. And that generation to generation, we learn how to be people. Yeah. I don't know. I think that I've never said anything nearly that heartfelt or sentimental in a. It's not sentimental, but in an interview. But I think it's true. It's actually. It's easy to joke about, but it's why we're actually doing this in the first place. And
to be both reflection and projection, right? Which is I see myself and I see who I would like to be.
Right.
In this show. And like I said, when I rudely said, well, it's not Homeland. My point was that I feel like a show like this, which people could dismiss as entertainment, and not every kind of entertaining show really has kind of the fundamental kind of strength of core that Supernatural has, which I think it's become a character-driven show fundamentally, with like activities and explosions on the top. Do you know what I mean? But the core of the show is really about relationships. And I actually challenge anybody out there to find another show that's almost exclusively about the inner life of men. And how they see themselves, how they see their heroism, how they see their relationship to family, how they find their caring selves, how they find their strong selves. There's the battle between being tender and being strong, and dealing with the other's expectations of you. Even Castiel, who's, not a real thing, by the way, a figment, a made-up thing, is dealing with, what has been expected of him, what he thinks his obligations are versus what he feels his spirit is. These are just the fundamental shit that everybody's wrestling with. And I think that's why people relate to the show. So I like it because there's a lot of hot guys in it, but that's just me. That's why I watch on the treadmill early in the morning, sweating. I'm legitimately a fan, and I'm not just saying that because you're making eye contact with me, and I don't want you to feel weird. I like the show. So now it is time for you to tell your self-inflicted wound story and put a button on this baby.
I've been using about 70% of my brain during the conversation we've had trying to figure out what humiliating story to tell, because really I have quite a treasure trove of them. And I could. I'm not going to go in the sort of triple X realm.
You can do whatever you like. I want you to know.
I could easily, but I'm not going to.
God damn it!
So, I was taking a transcontinental flight.
I was making a porn.
I was making an adult film. And this was right after I moved out to Los Angeles. We didn't have very much money. And my girlfriend at the time, wife now, her mother lived near the airport. And she said, well, why don't you stop by and I'll take you out to dinner before you get on your flight. And for us at the time, who we barely had money to pay the rent, this was free food.
Yes.
So we weren't going to pass it up. And so we went to P.F. Chang's China Bistro.
Delicious.
Fantastic. And we ordered pretty much everything on the menu because we figured we'll stock up now.
Yes.
I really gorged. And there's something, I have a strange, I would say fairly hearty constitution. I can eat pretty much anything. There's one food that I have a little trouble with, which is that jarred minced garlic, like pre-chopped garlic.
And they put maybe something in it to keep it from turning. Who knows?
Something happens between the ingestion and digestion of that garlic to me. It makes me a little gassy. And it's not pleasant. It's really foul smelling.
Okay.
So anyway,
garlicky gas.
P.F. Chang's, they applied liberal amounts of this garlic, and we got on the flight, and it was a packed JetBlue flight, and I was sitting in a middle seat next to my wife, well, girlfriend at the time, wife now, and we got up in the air, and about an hour into the flight, I felt a little pressure building up, and I thought I'll let it out in increments, so it's not a big deal.
It's a good strategy.
But when I allowed the first little bit to come out, it was sort of the floodgates opened and the whole thing came out. And it smelled pretty bad.
Yeah.
And the guy sitting immediately behind me passed out.
No,
it's a guy in his 30s.
No,
perfectly healthy looking guy. And so his girlfriend flagged down the flight attendants, and they came over, and she said, they said, what happened? And, well, he passed out. And so they gave him oxygen, and they resuscitated him, and they started interviewing him, asking him what was going on. And the girlfriend said, I think somebody has gas. And the flight attendants said in very loud, soothing tones, ma'am, that's absolutely impossible. All of the fuel is stored, none of it comes anywhere near the fuselage. All the gas is actually in the wings and, in the tail section of the airplane, but there's none anywhere near the cabin. So that's not possible. And she let it go. And I fell asleep. And I woke up a little bit further into the flight, and I felt a little pressure again. And I was in the middle. I didn't want to bother everybody to get up and go back. But so I thought, I'll just do little tiny pieces this time. I'm not going to do it. But again, I farted. The whole thing came out. Guy faints again. And they administer oxygen a second time. They resuscitate him. He's baffled. This never happened to me. I've never fainted before. His girlfriend says, again, I think somebody has gas, and it's really bad. And the flight attendant saying, ma'am, I assure you there's no fuel anywhere near the cabin. And the woman sitting next to them said, nuh-uh, somebody has to go to the bathroom, as loud as possible. And I just shrunk down into my seat. I felt so small and so poisonous. And the humiliation didn't stop, because when we landed, we all had to sit in our seats and wait for paramedics to take the guy off the plane. But in fairness, it was foul. It was the most awful fart I had ever expelled.
Oh my God.
But yeah, that's completely true. And I actually do avoid things with that minced jarred garlic for that reason, because it's disgusting.
Well, there's so many wonderful things about that story. It's delightful.
It's textured.
It is. It's layered. The first thing is that and I think all of us would be wise to follow your lead and figure out what things do induce these types of conditions and avoid them. I think most people don't.
Or use them, but
as a weapon,
right.
weaponized methane. Because I think what happens is everybody gets gas, and then they go, God, what did I eat?
Yeah, I know.
Why is this?
I know what I ate.
Right? Yeah, you knew. So you're already knowing's half the battle. Second of all, it's impressive that you made a grown adult male human being pass out twice. I think you should be registered in the National Register of your farts are registered weapons.
It was awful.
You're the James Bond of farts is what I'm trying to tell you.
It was a terrible fart. And I imagine, because they recirculate the air in those cabins. I mean, I bet people smelled it in the entire cabin. It was foul. It was awful.
The third thing is that the third thing is that this is not my idea, although it is true, and it was true before it was in the movie Funny People, which I think that, what's his name? I can see his face. Does a whole bit about farting on a plane. There's something about the hum of engines which makes you feel false security about no one's going to hear this.
And I think that I was probably thinking that.
Yeah.
Because you don't worry about farting on. I mean, you do. I do now.
Well,
for sure.
You should, because you could kill someone, but
it's not. It's not. Nobody's going to hear you, which is a luxury. I mean, a lot of times.
Seth Rogen, that was who said it. Sorry. Yes. Go ahead. Finish what you were going to say.
You're right. I mean, that's one of the best things about air travel.
And
you don't have to worry about that.
You think it's so loud in here, no one will ever hear it. It's going into this kind of upholstered seat, which will absorb and buffer some of the.
Also, there's so many fucking people in there.
And
who can pinpoint it? Who can pin it on you?
Ever? You also have to employ the kind of the uncle defense, which is to look at someone and go, which I have done on a plane. At the person next to me. Like nonverbal expressions of disgust. So that you just cast suspicion away from you.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
I laughed so hard I teared up a little bit.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
That means a lot. That's very charitable.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It was gross.
We've come to the end of our journey together. But the last question I have for you is, when is the next convention that you have to do? Is it like a year-round thing for you? I'm so curious.
No, we go into our winter sort of hibernation phase right now. So we've got a couple of months to sit it out. And then we do Vegas in, I don't know, early March, I think. Yeah.
There are very few shows that have their own con, like own set of year-round cons.
I know.
You're special. You have a special show.
It's really
what
weird.
will happen when it's over? What will you do?
I think that we'll become those sort of crusty, old, washed-up sci-fi actors who do conventions in malls.
Fabulous.
Yeah. The food court. I think you'll be finding us in food courts all across Middle America.
I'll come see you.
Yeah.
And then you know what I'll say to you?
No.
Misha Collins, would you like to run for office?
And that's where we'll all spiral.
Yeah. Upwards or downwards.
Yes.
This was so much fun.
Thank you so
much.
Thank
you for doing my show.
That was really a pleasure.
A joy.
Thank you.
By the way,
I haven't looked at my Wikipedia page in a long time, so it's probably all lies.
Because looking at your own Wikipedia page is depressing.
Right.
I think.
And a sign of mental illness.
Mental illness, or like deep inadequacy. Something is wrong with you.
Wrong.
Or like insane like ego and hubris where you're like, let me inspect how I'm seen. But I feel like what's good about your Wikipedia page is there's not a lot there. It's very intriguing.
Oh.
Yeah, like there's just enough information there for me. Like,
well,
what?
now you're making me curious.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I'll tell you about it. Now, Misha Collins, welcome to my show.
Oh, thanks.
It's happening now. I'm going to put this inside your mouth.
Okay.
There we go. Okay,
Okay.
good. Yeah. We're going to start with the fact that your nails are painted.
Oh, yes, they are.
Are you playing a rock star in a...
No, I wish that there was some valid reason for my having painted nails. I just did a fan convention for Supernatural, which is the TV show.
You guys do so many fan conventions.
We do a lot of fan conventions, and that's because we're prostitutes.
Yes, Whoas. The fancy name is Whoas.
Whoas, yes. But I was up on stage, and the other actors on the show came up and gave me a manicure while I was on stage.
Because you guys have done so many conventions that you have to entertain yourselves.
We have to do something to keep ourselves busy.
Yeah.
And we did a pretty good job of no one made eye contact with one another or made any mention of it. I just continued answering questions
While
from
they
the
painted
audience.
your nails.
While they painted my nails.
Who did it? Jared and Jensen?
No, Jared and Jensen did not do it. Osric Chow.
Yes, adorable Osric Chow.
Richard
who
Spate.
Plays, what's Osric's character's name? Kevin.
Kevin,
yes. I watched the show.
You are such a nerd.
It shouldn't have taken me as long to answer the question, but I almost couldn't remember your character's name for a minute. I am having early onset dementia. I've decided I can't remember anything.
I'm suffering from the same thing.
Thank God that it's not just me. So Osric Chow, and who else?
Richard Spate,
who plays
the trickster.
The trickster. Early,
expired.
like season 3 to 5, a little bit.
Yes, that's really.
I totally
really
watched
nerdy.
the show. I'm sorry if you feel creeped out now.
and Matt Cohen. Those are my.
Fun! I like that.
Yeah.
I would love to be so bored with conventions that was what I did.
So
on
they kind of
stage.
fucked it up, though.
There's men doing it. They don't
the
know.
bottom base
coat. They didn't put the base coat on.
So it's chipping badly, and my wife thinks I look bad.
Your wife is like, I don't mind that your nails are painted. I just wish they looked better.
Yeah,
They picked.
She has higher standards.
In my opinion, a very Ziggy Stardust. It's black with glitter. It's very rocky.
It looked like it had it had prospects.
In fact, tell your wife, I actually think this is better because this is like, I painted my nails, but I'm too cool to maintain my manicure. I'm busy being a man.
I paint my nails, but I'm a pig.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. I'm too busy being interesting. Where was this convention?
This was in a really exciting place, Burbank, California.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's remote, rustic,
donkey ride, is kind of bucolic.
Yeah. I think you'd like it. It's a nice
no
place
cell
to get
service.
away. No cell.
We could literally see it out of the window of my office.
There, yeah.
How many conventions do you guys do a year?
In the dozen range.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah. Do you? Because I'm still new to this. I've done like my 4th or 5th Comic-Con, and I still love them. Although they have just started to be a little burdensome in the sense that I'm excited for it, and at the end I want to burst into tears. Like it's always a little bit more than anybody can manage. We're getting up at 5 and going to bed at midnight, like 4 days in a row. Then at the end you're like, why did I agree to this? Has it lost? I mean, do you still enjoy it?
I do enjoy it, but what you're talking about resonates with me because at the end of a second or third day of doing this, I'm just so white. And it makes me think about politicians on the campaign trail. I don't know how they go day after day after day and don't just
That's why the whores and the cocaine that's why cocaine.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's why all
taking pictures of your penis. That's how they recharge. Is sending somebody a picture.
And I'm trying all of those things.
Just see what works for you.
And I think it's some sort of cocktail.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you'll find the combination. Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking of like a medication cocktail. Yeah, like the AIDS cocktail. Why would I go there? But I did. It's too late to come back. I can't. I'm sorry. Now you understand how this conversation is going to go. And it's interesting because when you go to a convention, it's a supernatural convention. I mean, you guys, I know, like I've seen Jared at Comic-Con before, but you guys go to things that are just about supernatural.
Yeah.
So you have even more of a burden to like carry the whole thing.
Yeah, you can't sort of sleep on the job there because everybody's watching you because you're why they're there.
They're why. What do you do?
You sign your name about 600 times,
Do you think we'll go to the beginning in a bit, but do you think? Because in the interest of full disclosure, although people who listen to the show know this already, I do watch Supernatural. I didn't come from the beginning. I think I started around like season 3 or 4, and maybe I started season 5, went back, but like from 5, I've seen everything. And one thing I find unique about the show, and which was confirmed by Jared, is that there's just a 1 and 2, even though you've been there since the beginning, and you, for all intents and purposes, are like
I started in season 4.
Oh, you started in season 4?
Yeah.
See, then I must have started watching in season 4 because I only remember you being there.
Okay.
There you go. But like, from like a practical standpoint, there are only 2 cast members and everybody else is a guest, right?
Yeah.
Even though they're guys, you and then the actor who's so Beaver, Jim Beaver, who was so amazing. Spoiler alert! I'm going to put a spoiler alert at the top of the show.
He's dead.
He's been dead for a while now. So if you don't know, fuck you.
It's a reverse.
I can't.
Spoiler.
I'm not your mother. I can't help you with everything. That there's so few characters on the show. Even if you kind of calculate you and Bobby into the mix, there was just the 4 of you, really.
Yep.
That's the reason why people feel such an intimate relationship with the show, because there's such a limited number of characters to interact with.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly get to know the characters. I think that people relate. I mean, I don't know. I have waxed philosophical on why it is that the show really grabs people. Take about 600 photographs. You get up on stage and get your nails painted.
Yeah.
You're basically a dancing monkey for a little while.
Yeah, put a little vest on.
Yeah, you give people a lot of hugs. You shake hands.
A lot of hugging.
You vacillate between smiling and snarling at the camera. And then you hear a lot of heartfelt stories. For some reason, our particular fandom is really intense and devoted, and I think obviously that's why we have so many conventions. Right. But yeah, I mean, there's always people who come up and share like really kind of heart-wrenching stories, and so
about their relationship to the show,
their relationship to us as personalities that they, for some reason, resonate with.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's a very intense. It's always an intense experience, and it's nothing at all like what I thought it would be like.
Right.
I have a friend, Connor Trenier, who was on the last incarnation of the Star Trek franchise.
So what?
Yeah.
9?
Star Trek, whatever.
Voyager?
I don't know. I didn't.
Battlestar Galactica? That one. That's the one.
But he was telling, when he got on the show, he was telling me about these fan conventions. And I, Connor, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry that I didn't, divulge this at the time. But when he told me about going to these fan conventions, I thought to myself, oh my God.
What a nightmare.
I hope my career never comes to that. That's just so sad and pathetic. And now it's, it's
a huge part
it's
of
what
your
I
life.
do.
Yeah.
So